I was noticing you were talking about the whole issue of gender characteristics, and this. I mean, I suppose it came up in the Kathy Newman interview.
There's hardly a more infuriating topic than that can possibly be broached.
That's right. The people, the feminists, rankle at the idea that there is anything innate about male and female characteristics, and the fact that, that women and you also, of course, talk about.
You mean like height differences? I read an abstract the other day that dared to claim that the reason that men and women differed in height is because the patriarchy, this was essentially the gist of the article published, the patriarchy ensured that nutritional resources were unequally distributed. So basically women are not as tall as men on average because the men are starving them. So seriously, that was published and peer-reviewed. Yeah. Like it's seriously not amusing. You think, well, what are the differences between men and women? Well, there's a height difference, there's a weight difference, there's an upper body strength difference. Women seem to have a bit more endurance than men in certain kinds of athletic competitions. They're nowhere near as strong in the upper body. They can't throw a punch worth a damn. So men have much more jaw strength, and those are just some of the more obvious, basic physiological differences. But the literature, this is what I find this infuriating. That the literature on gender differences in personality is, I would say, it's part of the most well-developed branch of social science research for a variety of reasons. The first thing is that because social scientists have a pronounced left-wing bent, it's very well documented by people like Jonathan Haidt, for example, there aren't any conservatives, and there are certainly no radical right-wingers in the social science domain. So what that means is that when social scientists report gender differences, they are doing it despite their biases, right? They're reporting data that runs contrary to what they would like to be the case. So in the personality domain, you see that there are pronounced differences between men and women, particularly in the proclivity to experience negative emotion and also the big five trait agreeableness. So women have a higher proclivity to experience negative emotion, which also manifests itself cross-culturally in higher rates among women for depression and anxiety disorders and dependent personality disorder as well. Whereas with men you see more learning disabilities, alcoholism, antisocial behavior, that sort of thing. And then in agreeableness, women are higher in agreeableness. And those differences, and this cannot be shouted from the rooftops enough. The more egalitarian this society, the larger the differences. Yep. So, and then the same goes for interest, people versus things. And that manifests itself in differential proclivity to enroll in STEM fields. So there was a great paper released, the Atlantic Monthly just wrote an article on it this week, showing that as societies become more egalitarian, the gap between enrollment, the enrollment gap between men and women in STEM fields increases.
Yeah.
So, and what do the feminists say about that? Pseudoscience. It's like, well, first of all, for a feminist who's influenced by someone like Judith Butler, to claim anything is pseudoscience is laughable beyond description. But it's infuriating to anyone who's a sensible social scientist and practitioner. Because first of all, those findings run counter to the bias that exists in social science. And second, no one was happy about reporting them. It's not like the social scientists went and had a big party when they found out that the differences between men and women in personality maximize in egalitarian societies. It was a shock.
Yeah.